Welcome everyone to episode 146 of Raw Sport. My name is Amber Hooley. We are back with another episode with a very special guest, someone who's joined us before, the man himself, Mr. Dmitriy Salita. Welcome to Raw Sport. What's happening, my man?
Thank you. Great to be back on. We were together when it was warm, and now we're together when it's cold. From the sun to the snow.
Absolutely, man. Awesome. Hey, Dmitry, we are in very interesting times. Boxing is going through a transition phase. We've seen a huge player come through, Zuffa Boxing, backed by the TKO group, a group of very powerful men who have their fingers in other parts of combat sports and the world of sports and entertainment. What can you tell us about TKO and how you think they will influence the sport of boxing?
Well, that still remains to be seen. It is a very interesting and developing times in the sport of boxing. UFC, Zuffa, WWE obviously are enormous entities, and they've had their first show over the weekend. It was not spectacular, just a regular boxing show, and I don't think it was meant to be spectacular. I believe they're really taking their time. From what I understand, from what I hear, they're really trying to develop a very solid infrastructure. They're making relationships with the amateur boxing associations in the United States. They're getting ready to do talent development platforms and really contribute to the sport of boxing.
We saw on the Friday night Zuffa, then we saw Saturday night the Zone, both in the boxing mecca of Las Vegas. Is there something there? Is there a silent Cold War that we are going to see moving forward between these two huge groups?
That remains to be seen. Obviously, the Zone show the fights were a lot better. There was a world title fight between two very good fighters, and it was a top ranked fighter versus a matchroom fighter. So it was a great event and great fights. The Zuffa boxing show, I believe the production was incredible, but the level of fights is still coming together. It wasn't a wow type of event, but I believe that they are uh, learning, will learn as they go along. I believe that the plan was for them just to get off the ground and get going. And as you've mentioned, they have very smart and very capable people. They have a great infrastructure, and we'll see how it translates to boxing.
The Zuffa model seems to be, or their inaugural event was on the same weekend as the UFC, which gives them a huge advantage because they got all that attention from the UFC. I don't know if you saw, but some numbers came out. They had over 5 million people tune into their Paramount Plus TV viewership or streaming platform. And this now could set a theme moving forward where we see these events before or after the UFC. Does that give them a strategic advantage over others in boxing?
Definitely. Paramount is former Showtime, so they're back in boxing with the numbers and the reach that Showtime has had, which is enormous. I mean, it's one of the biggest networks in the United States. The fact that Zuffa, rather the UFC, did over 5 million views, it's enormous. It's an enormous number. Mainstream basketball and football teams get that much on a good day. So UFC is definitely mainstream and a big sport and a big brand in the United States. With that being said, the UFC probably has 90% of the best MMA fighters in the world, and that translates into great fights, into great matchups, into educated fans. In boxing, they do not yet have any of the best talent in the world, but I believe that they will try to acquire it. And a lot of that talent is with other promoters spread out throughout the industry. Will they work with others? Based on what they said, they doesn't seem to be that doesn't seem to be the plan. I believe that they are trying to differentiate themselves in the industry by having their own platform, by having their own sanctioned body, by having their own media outlets that promote the fighters and do their own storytelling. Very similar to the UFC. They are trying to be their own supported ecosystem uh, to uh, to be the boxing player in the States.
Where does that leave the old guard, the Golden Boys, Top Ranks, PBCs?
It's in a way you can say the perfect storm because HBO and Showtime, the long time successful mainstream broadcasters in the sport, are gone. Showtime 2 years, HBO 5 years. I do want to note that I had the great privilege to promote both of those last shows, the last co-promote both of those last shows, the last HBO event and the last Showtime event. And I believe it's very meaningful to me as someone who grew up watching the sport and being inspired by both of those networks. Aaron is just turned 94 years old, and Al Heyman is also not very young and not as active as he was. Obviously, both have shown that they're very capable. The biggest promoter in the United States is Matchroom, is Eddie Hearn, and he's really from the UK. And obviously, got to give credit to Eddie for establishing such a name and a brand for himself in the United States, and that he had the guts to do it. We've actually promoted two of the first Matchroom United States shows, which were on HBO before the Zone, and it's really grown a lot since 2017 and 18. But again, Eddie is mostly a UK promoter. He does have a very solid base in the United States, but he's not from the United States. And he's very smart and capable, but there's certain nuances that 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 kind of every culture and every sport and every environment has that you have to live in to be able to understand. And uh, so for Zufa, it's really a great environment to make roadways and to try to control a significant uh, piece of the pie, of the boxing pie.
I want to go into Bob Arum and Top Rank. The Many regard him as one of the godfathers of the sport, been at the helm for 60 years or so. Biggest names in boxing were promoted by this man. Their contract ended in July. They don't have a TV contract or a network at play. Zuffa has the biggest TV deal in American boxing. What does that tell you, Mr. Dimitri?
Having a platform network country is a big deal. We remember when Eddie announced his deal with the Zone, and at that time, that was the biggest uh, rights payer in the sport. I believe their initial budget was more than HBO and Showtime combined. So, with that budget, he's made uh, significant roadways in the U.S. market and promotes many uh, of the best fighters in the United States. Top Rank, who's been around for decades and really has established a great business model because they are corporate and mom and pop at the same time. That's really observing boxing seems to be that's the perfect balance, and everybody has it a little bit differently. But there has to be a corporate and a real infrastructure, but it also has to be the relationship and the closeness of the company to the fighters, to the camps, to the managers, to the trainers, to because there is that very close relationship that exists in boxing, and that's how it really always ran. So we'll see. Zuf, on the other hand, is very corporate, very structured, very well run, but that can create some distance. And And if you want to speak to the president, if you want to speak to the top man, that may be a challenge. That may, you may never have that opportunity unless you are, bound
Big name.
for a mega, payday, and you're saying that you're not going to do it until you speak to the man in charge. So all of these different energies are kind of running the sport. The other thing that happened over the last 10, 15 years is that amateur boxing is not as glamorous and romantic as it used to be. I mean, as an example, the New York Daily News used to be the sponsor of the New York City Golden Gloves, which is the biggest amateur boxing tournament in the world. It would go on for 3 months, and there'd be literally over 1,000 applicants. The finals would happen in Madison Square Garden on MSG. Several times a week, fighters would fight in different neighborhoods throughout the city. The New York Daily News, which is one of the biggest dailies in the media capital of the world, New York City, would write about the fights, would write about the fighters. Then there'd be bigger stories about guys that were more significant, and that had a ricochet effect on all of the boxing industry. When you were a national champion in the United States, it meant a lot. Those that remember Lou Duva and Cameron Duncan and folks from all the major promotional companies would actually show up to all the major national tournaments, and the top amateurs would get courted, and there was a real depth to that. But seems to be, and really Aaron, one of the reasons for the success of his company has been that he is really second to none, being able to recognize and develop talent really, early from their career. I mean, Crawford, Teofimo, Shakur, all those top rank guys, Tyson Fury to an extent, but a little bit later. But all those guys are top rank guys. And, after I won the U.S. Nationals, this goes back a long time ago, I came back home on Sunday. On Tuesday, I got a call from Cameron Duncan. So they had a very well established amateur boxing recruitment system. From what I hear and from what I understand, there have been pictures of Dana White going to the U.S. Nationals. He's trying to make Zuffa is trying to make inroads with amateur boxing. That's a very smart move. You obviously want to have first dibs at the elite talent coming out of the amateurs. And, I'm a little bit surprised and maybe disappointed that some of the others haven't made those relationships. Me personally, I know many of the best trainers, many of the best gyms. Some of them are located in Detroit, Michigan. Some of them are in Puerto Rico. Some of them are in New York City. So I function through making direct relationships with the trainers, with the fighters that I know for many, many years, and being able to acquire some of that best talent. But it is very interesting how the next 3 years leading up to the Olympics will pan out, and who will have a chance to sign some of the better elite amateur talent, because that's the next generation.
The amateur sexiness, as many have said, that appeal. Why has that died out? Why is there been that drop off from the media and others?
It's a great question. I think it's a deep question. I think that it could even be a political question, because I think that boxing, the popularity of boxing has dwindled a little bit, and there are many different forces that have come into play. Again, I grew up with the New York City Golden Gloves being almost as big as the Olympics on the East Coast in New York City. It really had that aura of Madison Square Garden, of the Daily News, of all the big media partners, and Mark Breland, Zab Judah, Riddick Bowe. So, I mean, Shannon Briggs. The list goes on. So many great fighters have won that tournament. The U.S. Nationals were really a very popular and prestigious tournament. It still is, but there's like a ricochet effect, and it used to be supported by HBO and by Showtime and by Don King and by Bob Arum, and you know, as much respect to Arum, he's incredible, 94 years old, incredible, right? But age does what it does, right? And like, and you may not be as aggressive and as innovative about things, right? And I think that Top Rank, if you look at from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010s, as a company, it's really incredible at evolving and changing with the times, from uh, recognizing the Spanish American market in the 90s and moving the company to Vegas, uh, to um, aligning with HBO, to then aligning with ESPN, to having such an incredible social media presence. So I think as a business in the United States, Top Rank has been the best. But um, I believe that they were much more aggressive uh, in the previous years. And again, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so to say, but uh, uh, as you said, they don't have a network deal, which is very surprising, uh, and it has a big impact on the industry and the way that things will go in the near future. I really believe that they will get something significant, uh, but as we're having this interview, they don't have anything.
I believe I've been hearing from people in the industry and the community that there was the sense of complacency sort of set in. That's what people are saying out there. And that could have been why they find themselves where they are today. Because many have said that the executive team is unbelievable.
Who are we
But
talking about?
Top Rank.
Oh,
Top Rank. The executive team is up there, absolutely. But it seems to be that after, I'm not saying this, I've heard this in the industry. This is what others are saying, that after the $90 million deal that they got through Nick Khan, actually, which is funny because he's now on the other side, there was a sense of complacency in the organization, which has led to disputes between them and their network partners, which now we see themselves in a situation where they don't have a network. And then others have said it's the impact of the new guys in town and their leverage and their muscles in the world of media. So it's an interesting time. And we are going to sit back and watch and see how things evolve. But
I have nothing. So all of that you said, it may or may not be true. I have nothing to comment on it. That's gossip. So like I don't really.
Correct.
It doesn't really matter. And I wish the healthiest in business environment for boxing, and ultimately the healthiest environment is where the fans and the boxers benefit the most. And that happens when there is healthy competition, when there is not just one shop, when you have an opportunity and ability to go across the street to make a different deal, because that makes everybody step up and do the best for the fans and for the fighters. Uh, and so we'll see if collaboration happens. I mean, we personally uh, do business with everyone and are open to doing business with everyone. And we just signed Atif Oberlton, who is the number 5 world-rated light heavyweight in the world, one of the best American prospects. We did a deal with King's Promotion, Marshall Kaufman, and Win Records. So based on my experience as a fighter, you have to be fighter first, and you have to be inclusive and work with the different players in the space to make the biggest and the best fights. and sometimes when you don't want to work with people, it spills over into so many different negative things for the sport that that it's better to avoid. But we'll see how it all goes, how things develop, how fighters align themselves, how managers align themselves. The other important developing factor here is that many of the managers of the boxing managers have been boxing managers for a long time, and they're still young and active, relatively speaking. So fighter development is still very important. So if someone wins a U.S. national tournament, or if someone wins the Olympic Games, do they want to be in a position where they're going to fight 50-50 fights from the beginning, or do they want to be developed? And I believe that some of the biggest names in the sport, some of the fighters that developed to be all-time greats, had they not had the proper development, they would not be where they are. And as one of the great boxing matchmakers, Johnny Boss, used to say, it takes 5 years to build a fighter and 15 minutes to ruin one. And I use the example that if you take a young man or woman who's destined to be the best uh, lawyer in the world or doctor, and you take him from high school and you put him inside an operating room, all of a sudden, this very talented, capable person is going to freeze, possibly damage the patient, lose his confidence, and never do this again and get a job doing something else. If they finish high school, go to college, go to medical school, residency, etc., and develop step by step, they will live up to their potential. So, same with sports, same with boxing, is you see it in basketball, in football, in all the other sports. There has to be correct development, and it's a science, and it's a fine art, and you have to really know what you're looking at and know what you're doing. And a great example is from the 2000 Olympics. Miguel Cotto lost his first fight. Ricardo Williams, one of the best amateurs in the United States history in a long time, won a silver medal. Ricardo Williams signed and got a signing bonus of over $1 million. Miguel Cotto signed with Top Rank, didn't get that much of a big, got a very, very modest bonus. But he became an all-time great, and Ricardo Williams did not make it to 10-0. So that's the power of progression and development.
Absolutely, and I mean, I don't think fans are against that. Where the disappointment has come over the years is when the development happens, but then there's stagnation up the top,
Right.
and the best don't fight the best. For example, on the weekend we saw Ray Morotea versus Andy Cruz. The fight happened, great fight, and then some of the sentiment from the audience was that, oh, did Andy Cruz move too quickly? So it's one of those things, really. It's a balancing act. But
It definitely is. It definitely is, and you don't always get it right, but but there's a system to it, and Andy Cruz did a great job. Maybe he was an amateur boxer for too long. Maybe he doesn't have the elite style to be the top professional. He's obviously a great, very good fighter, but there's that very thin slice of fighters that are elite that live at the top of the mountain. He may not be one of those guys, but it was a great fight and great for the sport of boxing. And today we live in the age of social media, so I see that fight trending, which is great for the sport and great for the zone and great for Matchroom. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. All right. Before we wrap things up, I know we're running short on time. We're probably over at this stage. Claressa Shields, you got a massive event happening February 22nd in Detroit. Tell us about the event. We saw the press conference at the Detroit Motor Show, grand entrance, huge audience. Tell us a bit more.
Claressa is the biggest star in U.S. boxing. It's quite incredible, um, and she is fighting for the undisputed heavyweight world title. And the reason why I say that she's the biggest star in U.S. boxing is because she's not just a great fighter; she's an influencer and a social figure and a role model to many. And she came from the toughest place in the United States, Flint, Michigan, and saw positivity every day of her life as a young kid and became a two-time Olympic gold medalist. And as a professional, has achieved things that no man or woman have done. So for Claressa, to me, every fight is a strategic, historic event. Detroit, known as America's greatest comeback city, it's gone through some rough spots. It's known for its auto industry, known as Motown. Uh, it's known for music, the Motown Records. It's known for boxing. The Joe Louis Fist is uh, at in downtown Detroit. So we wanted to bring all these three energies together and project the comeback of Detroit. So the Detroit Auto Show is one of the biggest business conferences in the world, has thousands of people, has over 1,000 reporters from all over the world to come cover it. And so we combine all these three forces. Claressa's heavyweight fight against Franchon Cruz, who's a bona fide champion, one of the best fighters in women's boxing, win records with Papoose, an executive and a hip hop star, Claressa's uh, Claressa's significant other, and to do the press conference at the auto show and having both fighters treated like the queens they are, being brought to the press conference in luxurious cars, was really incredible and uh, shows to the world that Detroit is back. Detroit boxing is back. This fight is happening February 22nd on the zone from Little Caesars Arena, which is just shy of 20,000 seat arena, 19 plus thousand. It's already over 60% sold. As we sit here today, she sold more than $1 million in tickets. And Franchon Cruz is a very good fighter, but not a lot of people know outside of the boxing world know who she is. People are coming to see Claressa. People are coming to see an event, and it's just incredible to see her star power. It's phenomenal, and the fact that a woman boxer, particularly from the state of Michigan, that produced Lewis, Tommy Hearns, Floyd Mayweather, all the great champions from the Kronk Boxing Gym, that Claressa is the first woman to open up Little Caesars Arena, the brand new building, premier venue in Detroit where the Pistons play, where the Red Wings play, where Madonna performs. It's the place in Detroit that Claressa opened it up for professional boxing. This is going to be her fourth fight there. And each time it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Last time Rick Ross walked out, it was electric, absolutely incredible. This time she will have a musical performance as well. And I'm very excited about my partnership with Win Records. And again, shows you our flexibility, fighter first thinking to make sure that we cater to the fighters' needs and put them on a pedestal as they should be. And on that card in the co-feature will be Atif Oberlton, one of the top light heavyweights from the United States. It's a deal with King's Promotions and Win Records, and I believe that Atif is one of the best fighters in the world, and will get that big platform to showcase his ability.
Wow, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The man has put together an amazing card. Mr. Salita, I want to thank you very much for
Thank you. Before we
taking
go,
the time to chat. Yeah,
Before we go,
tell
I
me.
do want to say a couple of other things. We have also a great event coming up February 10th from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids is the birthplace and the foundation of Floyd Mayweather and the Mayweather family. And on that card, we have Joshua Pagan, one of the top prospects in boxing, NABO lightweight champion, his homecoming, defending his title. In the co-feature, one of the best women's fights, Caroline Vieira is fighting Delphine Persoon. It's the number 1 and number 2 130-pound contender, fighting for the vacant WBC 130-pound title. And in the opening TV fights, Sadia Simmons, 2-time national Golden Glove champion, also from Flint, Michigan, 5-0, looking to take the next step in the heavyweight rankings. And a 130-pound fighter that we just signed, he's 1-0 with 1 knockout, special fighter known as Garrett Rice, Baby G, also from Flint, Michigan, is going to make his television debut. I'm very excited about those fights, very excited about those fighters. And in March, we're coming to Puerto Rico. 2 of the most talent-dense places is Michigan, Detroit, and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico per capita produced more world champions than anywhere else in the world. And that's where we want to be. We want to be in places where boxing talks, where people love boxing, where you get in a cab and you can talk to the driver about Tito Trinidad, about Miguel Cotto, about Julio Cesar Chavez, about the great fighters, about Tommy Hearns. So, and we want to make those foundations grow, and that's what we've been doing. And very excited about the first quarter of the year, and always good to be on with you. I love seeing your short clips shared on my Instagram account. I really do.
Thank you very much.
And I know that earlier today we had some hiccups into connection, but I think this was a pretty smooth one. And
we're going to talk again before your March card. So
great.
So brace yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dmitriy Salita, thank you once again.
One more
Dmitriy.
thing.
Just quickly.
Before you go, sorry.
No, I'm not going.
Before you go.
Just quickly.
Yes.
Go on.
You're from Australia, yeah?
Yeah.
So we just had the Women's Fight of the Year, where Kay Scott won the WBC and WBA middleweight world title. She it's been a long journey for her. She's had a very long amateur boxing career. And
I remember her from the amateurs, actually.
Yeah, and great to see that she finally fulfilled her dream by becoming a world champion in such an incredible way. And it happened at the Fox Theater, which is one of the most scenic and beautiful venues in Detroit. Tony Harrison was the co-features to that fight card. Our commitment to women's boxing is second to none. I'm great to see that MVP is also doing great things for women's boxing. Claressa is the straw that stirs the drink. She has made it possible for other great women champions to make more money, to get publicity, to get a platform to showcase their skills and their ability. And it's great to see that MVP is doing such a great job amplifying women's boxing as well. But we just see boxing as boxing, and we represent fighters, and some of the best fighters in the world are women. And that's our philosophy, and we're looking forward to a great event on February 10th and February 22nd.
Where can people watch it, Dmitry?
People can, most important. So both of those fights will be available live on DAZN, and it'll be exciting nights of boxing. February 10th from Grand Rapids, Michigan, live on DAZN, 8 p.m. Eastern start time, and February 22nd on Sunday, also 8 p.m. Eastern start time, live on DAZN. Check it out, and let me know what you think.
There you go. The man himself, putting on many shows, lots of work, lots of talent. Thank you very much, Mr. Salita. Thank you for joining me, taking the time. Thank you to all those who's tuned in. Take care. We'll catch you on the next episode of Raw Sport. Take care, everyone.